Do you know that feeling? Like your head is thumping because you're just sick and tired of trying to be someone you're not. You have this gnawing feeling, this voice, telling you that you have so much potential you're wasting, that you're meant for so much more, yet no matter how hard you try, nothing seems to go your way, and you're left disappointed, lost, and drained. It's a terrible feeling, and, well, it's one that I know well. Almost too well, honestly. Because, you see, I've spent most of my life trying to be someone I just wasn't. And in more recent years, it actually even led me to, well, close to self-destruction. And long story short, I quite frankly don't wish it to anyone. And that's why today, and that's why in this video, I'm going to walk you through these 5 lessons that gave me the freedom, the permission to stop trying to be someone I'm not and step into who I truly am so I can finally utilize my full potential. Because the truth is, as Naval Ravikant says, that no one can compete with you on being you. And so my goal with this video is to help you escape competition through authenticity. And we begin with lesson number 1. If you feel like you're having to force things, you're probably doing the wrong things. Alright, thanks for that, but shoo now, I'm gonna take things from here. Thank you. Okay. Well, so after reflecting on my journey and all the hardship I went through, and also studying some of the greatest minds in history, I eventually realized that forcing things is rarely the way to get any good outcome in life. But to make this make sense, let me tell you a quick story of how I got here in the first place. So, a few years back, I came across my first self-improvement and online business videos on YouTube. And because of them, I, over time, got brainwashed basically into believing that I should ignore my feelings and I should just forget about what I love. In fact, just forget about the word love altogether, and ideally just grind as hard as possible. And this continued for many months and months until eventually it reached its worst point. And long story short, there was one time when I finished up a run and basically I woke up on the grass to someone shouting, "Hey, are you alright?" And I opened my eyes and found myself on the grass next to a busy road. And as it turned out, that person shouting was the police. And I was really confused, quite honestly. But the thing is that I wasn't dead and I wasn't wasted or homeless laying there on the grass. Instead, I was just so completely run down. And it wasn't because of the run I just finished, but because of my work. I, at that point, worked 14-hour days, 6 days a week, and sacrificed sleep, which meant that I was so drained and exhausted that I literally fell asleep during the day on the grass. And after reflecting on this a while later, I eventually realized why this was. And let me give you an analogy. Imagine you never ever looked in the mirror, but you were born as a bird, okay? And you went online and you searched for, how to succeed or how to make money, and you came across these, I don't know, let's say rabbits online teaching people how they can win races to make money, let's say, by learning how to run faster. And so, as a bird, you start buying their $997 courses, and you learn how to run faster to compete in these races and ideally make 10K per month. But you're just so exhausted and drained and overwhelmed constantly by all the conflicting advice, and nothing ever seems to go your way. And eventually, you have to come to realize that sure, as a bird, you can learn how to walk better, but why walk when you were born to fly? And the lesson here is that if you're having to force things, it's probably because you're following someone else's path and not your path. And the really ironic thing here is that when people work hard, usually on something that they really don't like, they call it grinding. But the word grinding, by definition, means friction, and a lot of it. And if you imagine a car engine, if the gears in there are grinding, then that means there's loads of friction, meaning the engine has to work 10 times as hard for the same result. So, are you surprised that maybe you feel drained? Because when I realized this, it made perfect sense. And for this reason, as it turns out, and this is something I learned from investor and entrepreneur Ray Dalio, I learned that as humans, although we're far smarter than, any other species on Earth, compared to the whole of nature, we're actually very dumb. And, we're incapable of designing and building a mosquito, for example. And the point I'm getting at here is, well, there's a quote by Lao Tzu, who was supposedly alive a few thousand years ago, that is highly relevant to this. And he said, "Nature does not rush, yet everything is accomplished." I mean, have you ever thought of this? How do birds know when it's time to take to the skies and migrate without a map or a weather app? Or how do they know when it's time to rise up in the morning and start singing their song, or go back and start building their nests? How do the flowers know when it's time to come out of the ground and blossom in perfect harmony? How do the trees know when it's time to bloom again without anyone ever telling them? And how do bees know when it's time to... And why is it that these trees and these birds and these flowers, they don't grind and they don't try to force their way out of the ground, in the example of the flowers, for example, in the winter? Why is that? And, well, the answer is that it simply isn't time. And so, if the whole of nature is so much more intelligent than any one of us, then why don't we learn from nature? Because, after all, as Ray Dalio says, all of the laws of reality were given to us by nature. And the thing is that we can't out-hustle these laws. They apply to everything and everyone, including our life and work. So instead of grinding, why don't we learn from nature? And why don't you go with your flow? And I say your flow instead of the flow for a specific reason. And that takes us to lesson number 2. There is no the way, only your way. You see, going back to when I first started my journey online, I was searching online for, the newest tips and tactics all the time. But ironically, all these tips and tactics ever did was make me feel more lost. I searched for answers to my questions, yet was left feeling even more lost, which was just extremely overwhelming, quite frankly. And the even more ironic thing is that each of these gurus online framed their opinion and their advice as absolute truth. And eventually, after trying all these tips and hacks and tactics, I was eventually tired because, in truth, none of them ever worked for me long term. And so I reflected on what had happened, and I had a huge realization, which was, what if we're not all the same? What if we're all different? Yep. And that's exactly why John Mason said, "You were born an original, don't die a copy." And as it turns out, the quickest and easiest way to become a copy is, well, to copy others' paths and what everyone else is doing. Like that bird trying to learn from the rabbits how to run faster when it's just not true to them. So instead of trying to copy others' paths and trying to find their way, instead the key is to find your way. because the answers to your questions aren't out there, they're within you. And once you do look within and you do find those answers, you will have tapped into a deeper wisdom within you. And that takes us to lesson number 3. Self-knowledge is the most important form of knowledge. A couple of the figures from history who have impacted me a lot are Socrates and Aristotle. And well, this is Aristotle here. And I mention him because he has a quote where he said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." And when I first came across this quote, it didn't really mean too much to me. It seemed like a very wise and cool quote, but I didn't really understand it. And then eventually I came to realize that, well, wisdom is simply the ability to make meaningful decisions. And the reason we feel so lost and overwhelmed in life so often is because, well, we don't know how to make those meaningful decisions. We don't know what is truly right for us or what is true to us. And I speak from experience when I say this, we often don't even truly know what we want. And I know that sounds crazy, but think about it. There's so many people who think they want that big penthouse, they want that Lamborghini, they want the big house, but why really do they want those things? Is it because they truly want those things from deep within, because they know that those things matter to them and will make them feel fulfilled at the end of their lives? Or is it maybe because of their environment and it's because they feel the need to be recognized by the people around them? And so they think they want those things, but what they really want is recognition. And as it turns out, a lack of self-knowledge is actually the root cause of most people's problems in life, I've observed. Like, for example, people hating their work, people having bad marriages, people feeling lost or overwhelmed or worthless. All of these are painful, and I've either experienced or witnessed firsthand each of these. But if this pain has taught me any one thing, is that pain is never the problem itself. The pain is just a signal, which means that pain is merely a symptom that is pointing us to a deeper underlying problem. And from my experience and observation, that problem most often is a lack of self-knowledge. But on the other hand, when you do look within and you learn what is truly meaningful to you, what your unique strengths and unique ways of thinking are, because once again, remember, we're all different. How your upbringing and your environment has shaped you and continues to shape you. After all, what use is it how much you know about the world if you have no idea where you fit into that world? Or should I say, how you don't fit in, because once again, you're unique and different. And for that reason, when you do look within and you learn your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your unique ways of thinking, your unique qualities, all these things, you build a proper foundation of wisdom and clarity for a meaningfully successful life. Lesson number 4. True happiness lies not in pleasure, but in meaning. So, what really is happiness? Well, in his book, The Art of Impossible, Stephen Kotler said that there are 3 levels of happiness. The first one is pleasure, the second is engagement, and the third is purpose. So, the first one, pleasure, that's when you rely on cheap pleasure and rewards for happiness. And as you probably know, that kind of happiness usually does not last. The second is engagement, and this is where you seek out and overcome meaningful challenges, which makes you feel fulfilled. And then the third level is purpose, once again, which is where you seek out and overcome meaningful challenges, like in the last one, except now you seek them out for a bigger cause, a stronger, deeper why. And the reason I bring this up as lesson number 4 is that when we lack self-knowledge, we rely on pleasure for happiness, because we simply don't know ourselves well enough and deep enough to know what our purpose is and how to seek out those challenges that actually align with who we are and so are meaningful to us. And for exactly this reason, this makes all those force your brain into doing the work videos so irrelevant and ironic, because as you now know, forcing is rarely ever the way to do anything. Because when you just align yourself with your purpose and seek out meaningful challenges, you don't have to force your brain to do anything. Your brain will want to tackle the work, and this is all neurobiology. When you align yourself with your purpose and your curiosities and your passion and your vocation, all these things, you will now have dopamine and oxytocin and all these things in your brain making you want to do the thing. And by the way, this is not that cheap kind of dopamine, but the real stuff, the kind that comes from pursuing your life's work, from improving yourself each and every day and feeling like you're in flow, and just having that feeling that you know you're building something meaningful and lasting. And the thing is that once you do reach level number 3, so basically you look within and you find your purpose, then you no longer feel like a fish trying to climb a tree. And I say that because, of course, Albert Einstein has a quote that everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing it is stupid. And yeah, you will no longer feel like a fish trying to climb a tree. Instead, you will feel like a salmon swimming upstream against the current. Sure, it's still difficult, but now you're tackling a meaningful challenge. Lesson number 5. You're not just capable of greatness, you're designed for it. Have you ever had that feeling, maybe a voice within you telling you that you're meant for more? I assume you have. And well, what if that feeling and that voice within you is not random? There is a quote that I really like from Andrew Kirby, who is the host of Synthesizer. He is an online creator, and he said, "There is something within you calling you to be great. Do you hear the whisper of your soul?" And once again, this voice is not random. That voice is your intuition. It's your deeper wisdom within you. And the issue is that when we were kids, we were all closely connected to this voice within us. But as we grow up, this voice gets drummed out of us by parents and teachers and societal pressures. If you look at any kid, you will see that they're ambitious and curious and open-minded. And it's exactly for this reason that Leonardo da Vinci was so incredible, because he retained this childlike quality of curiosity and ambition and just having this kind of wonder, deep sense of wonder for the world around him. And this is exactly why Einstein said that everybody is a genius, because it's not about whether you're a genius or not, and it's not about how intelligent are you, it's how are you intelligent. And the difference there is that it's not that you're either stupid or intelligent, it's that everyone is intelligent in their own unique thing. For example, imagine putting Albert Einstein on your basketball team. Then if he missed some shots and if he dropped the ball, then would you call him stupid and untalented? Probably not. It's just not his thing. And equally, if you put Michael Jordan in front of Albert Einstein's theories of relativity, if he started struggling with them, then once again, would you call him stupid and untalented? Probably not. And once again, it's just because it's not his thing. So the truth is, as Stephen Kotler said, is that we are all designed for optimal performance. And it's just a matter of looking within and listening to that voice and understanding your strengths and your purpose and your vocation and following what is true to you. And what you will find, as I did, is that when you do look within and you do finally, truly, deeply understand yourself, and by the way, I know this sounds simple, and it is, but it's not easy, because this took me many, many years of peeling away the layers of getting to my true self, to my core. Because remember, after all these years of conditioning, it's not, an instant process. It's a long process of self-discovery. And it's like peeling away the layers of an onion. But when you do get to your core, your true self, you will find that you will no longer shrink your potential to fit your mind. You will expand your mind to fit your potential. So I hope these 5 lessons have been valuable to you, and that they have served you, and that they will help you tap into your deeper wisdom within you. And I know that sounds kind of woo-woo and philosophical, but really, it's all just science. If you really align yourself with who you truly are and your strengths, because everyone is different, then it's pretty obvious that you will finally start feeling useful and fulfilled in life. So, as always, I wish you all the best, and until next time, be mega, ciao. And remember, it's already there within you.